The number one clear sign that you're destined for greatness. You are action-oriented. I try my best to read with my kids as they were growing up. And one of my personal favorite books I read to them again and again was this book, Oh, the Places You Will Go. And there's this one part in the book that has always stuck with me. It's about this place, the waiting place. It's where people are just stuck, waiting for things to happen, waiting for permission, waiting for the perfect moment, waiting for circumstances to align just right. And the reason this page has always stood out to me was this, the fact that too many of us are currently living in this waiting place without even realizing it. We're waiting for someone to give us the right opportunity, the right job, the right next step. We're waiting for courage because many of us are scared to start. We're waiting for all the ducks to be in a perfect row before taking the first step. However, the irony of life is that there will never be a situation in which everything will line up perfectly. Thus, if we want to find success in our careers, our relationships, our finances, we have to take action. And this is a common trait I see among so many very successful people. They may not be the smartest tool in the shed. They might not have the most charismatic personalities. However, one thing they're always inclined to do is take action. They don't wait for permission. They don't wait for the ideal circumstance or the right timing. No, they open the door, get on the bike, and head out. And if you're a type of person who is inclined to take action, who doesn't wait for permission, I raise a glass to you, my friend, because you're showing the first clear sign of someone who is destined for greatness. But you might be asking, how does someone become action-oriented? Is this a character you can cultivate? Well, I say yes, which takes us to the next sign. The number two clear sign that signals you're destined for greatness. You're wildly optimistic. We humans have a natural tendency to gravitate towards the negative. We're just wired that way. The world is coming to an end. The economy is tanked. My hair will never grow back. On that last one, that one actually might be true. Unless you've been genetically blessed with luscious hair like mine, I'm sorry to say, but your hair is probably not coming back. But with most other things in life, negativity is most often perception. We've been saying the world is coming to an end for thousands of years, and we've been saying the economy is tanking for hundreds of years. However, we're still here, and the economy is pumping along stronger than ever. And for those that are destined for greatness, they see this as a great sign, an optimistic sign, that the best times are actually not behind us. No, they're actually ahead of us. Thus, they're wildly optimistic, not only about what the future holds, but their place in that future. So if you see the world in a similar way, wildly optimistic about the future, congrats again to you, my friend, because that is a telltale sign that you're destined for greatness. The number three clear sign that signals you're destined for greatness. You run calculated experiments. Essentially, you take calculated risks. Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, "Don't be too timid and squeamish about your actions. All life is an experiment. The more experiments you make, the better." Essentially what he was saying was that if we want to find success, make progress in our lives, in the line of taking action, we have to continually run experiments. Take risks. Trying out a lot of stuff, knowing a good number of them won't work out, but still doing it anyways. But here's the thing, not all experiments and risks are created equal. And this understanding is what separates people who just throw everything on the wall and hope it sticks versus those that actually achieve greatness over the long run. They recognize that people who actually build lasting success are not reckless. They are methodical. They study the odds. They understand what they stand to lose. And then, only then, do they move. A great example of this is Warren Buffett during the American Express salad oil scandal. When the company's stock collapsed and everyone else was running for the exits, Buffett didn't panic. He investigated. He visited businesses, watched how people were actually using their Amex card, and realized the scandal hadn't touched the company's core business. So he made one of the largest investments of his early career. It was still an experiment, yes, a risk, but it wasn't a wild guess. It was a calculated bet based on evidence, not emotion, and it paid off massively. And if you, my friend, are the type that likes to run experiments, but calculated ones, kudos to you again. I'm not sure if you'll achieve Warren Buffett's $100 billion net worth status, but who knows? Maybe you'll get pretty close. In talking about signs that you're destined for greatness, let me tell you something I've noticed after working with hundreds of people on their finances. The people who actually build substantial wealth all have one thing in common. They understand their money's superpower and they leverage it relentlessly. Some of you naturally love to run experiments. You test things, you optimize, you get results. That is your superpower. But I also work with people who are naturally disciplined savers, or brilliant at spotting opportunities, or amazing at building systems. Different superpowers, but same wealth building outcome. The problem? Most people never actually figure out what theirs is. So they follow generic advice that doesn't fit how they naturally think about money, and they wonder why it doesn't work. That is exactly why I created the Money Superpower quiz. In just 60 seconds, it reveals your unique money strengths and shows you exactly how to apply that superpower to accelerate your wealth building. The strategies that will feel natural to you, the ones that will actually stick. The quiz is completely free, and thousands of people have already discovered their money superpower through it. So don't wait. Click on the link in the description below and take the Money Superpower quiz today. Alright, with that, let's get back to the next sign that signals you're destined for greatness. The number 4 clear sign that signals you're destined for greatness. You cherish solitude. In the earlier section, we talked about taking calculated experiments, calculated risks. But here's a real question. How do we distinguish between the good ones and the bad ones? The answer? Deep, sustained thinking. But how? By cherishing solitude. The truth is that many people have a really hard time with solitude, with being alone. Many feel uncomfortable with silence. They find it boring. They equate being alone with being lonely. But in my perspective, if you can learn to cherish solitude, this is one of the greatest skills in life because it gives you a space to think and reflect. A rare skill in today's over-distracting, hyper-connected world. Blaise Pascal once said, "All man's miseries derive from not being able to sit quietly in a room alone." When Bill Gates was running Microsoft, he was famous for taking time off twice a year for his Think Week. Essentially a dedicated time away from the hustle and bustle to think deeply and creatively about things such as the future of technology, new markets, and the direction of the company. And in part, it was this dedicated space to be alone, to think and reflect, that allowed Bill to make crucial decisions that propelled Microsoft to the technology giant that it is today. So if you find that you enjoy thinking and reflecting alone, cherishing that time alone, that is a rare trait that I'm confident will propel you to the next level. The number 5 clear sign that signals you're destined for greatness. You're good at letting things go. For most people, letting go is really hard to do. We naturally hold on to things, especially negative things. Grudges against our coworkers for not inviting us out to that special lunch gathering. Resentment towards our aunt for calling us fat at the last Christmas gathering. And of course, a deep sense of bitterness against that bully who took our Pokemon card in 5th grade and never gave it back. But you, my friend, are much better than that. You've trained yourself to leave things in the past and let things go because you understand wisely that there is absolutely no benefit that comes from holding on to grudges and resentment. You're only hurting yourself. Probably no one exemplifies letting go as well as Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela was the first president of South Africa from 1994 to 1999. However, before he became president, he was an anti-apartheid activist who was imprisoned for 27 years, sentenced for conspiring to overthrow the state. Following his release, he could have been bitter, angry, or vengeful. I mean, if that was me, if I was in prison for 27 years, I don't know. I get all riled up when someone cuts me off in traffic. But Nelson Mandela is a bigger man than me, a way bigger man. So his first speech after he was released was filled with commitment to peace and reconciliation. He wanted to bring peace to the black majority and give them the right to vote in national and local elections, but not through violence, but through peaceful negotiation. That, in my book, is what letting go looks like. To let go is not to adjust everything to my desires, but to take each day as it comes and to cherish the moment. The number 6 clear sign that signals you're destined for greatness. You practice extreme ownership. This concept of extreme ownership was popularized by the book with the same title, Extreme Ownership: How U.S. Navy SEALs Lead and Win by Jocko Willink. The main takeaway from the book is that leaders should take full responsibility for everything: success, failures, and everything in between. They should not shift blame or avoid responsibility. And why is this important? Because the beginning of anything worthwhile starts from taking responsibility. You want to get better grades at school? You have to take ownership of your studies. You can't blame the school, your teacher, or your friends. You want to get better at your job? You have to take ownership of your performance. You can't blame your boss, your coworkers, or your circumstances. You want to get in better shape? You have to take ownership of your health. You can't blame your genetics, your schedule, or your environment. When we stop blaming circumstances, other people, or bad luck, we get to reclaim our power to actually change things. And that is when real progress begins. And again, if you're the type who steps up and takes responsibility for your surroundings, your life, and your future, you're well on your path to greatness. However, this does not mean that path forward is all roses and petals, which leads to the next sign. The number 7 clear sign that signals you're destined for greatness. You embrace failure. Taking extreme ownership means you're also embracing extreme failure. The truth is that in the game called life, failure is inevitable. Babies don't learn to walk in their first step. You don't learn to play the guitar in your first session. And nobody walks into a weight room, grabs a barbell, and instantly deadlifts 300 pounds. Michael Jordan is considered the greatest basketball player of all time. But people forget he didn't even make his high school varsity team the first time he tried out. He was devastated and he cried when he was cut. But he didn't quit. He leveraged that failure as his fuel that drove him to outwork everyone, which eventually led to 6 championships, 5 MVPs, and a legacy that still shapes basketball today. The beginning of progress is naturally failure, and you understand this key principle, which will take you far and beyond towards greatness. The most successful people are not the ones who never fail, but the ones who learn from their failures. The number 8 clear sign that signals you're destined for greatness. In the line of embracing failure, you also embrace change. Change is a natural part of life. If we're to look around us, we'll notice that nothing ever stays the same. Trees grow, get tall, die, and new ones grow in its place. Our favorite restaurant closes and is replaced by a new yoga studio. Our kids grow, leave the house, and pursue their own life adventures. That is life. Thus, we have to get comfortable with change. And as someone destined for greatness, you're not only comfortable with it, you crave it. You pursue it. When I was 27 years old, I left the military and went straight to business school. As someone who spent most of his career in uniform, up to that point in life, to say that I felt like a fish out of water is an understatement. When my classmates started talking about discounted cash flow and running Monte Carlo scenarios, I was like, what? Why would you discount cash? Wouldn't we want more cash? And Monte Carlo? Is that in Europe? Are we running a vacation scenario? Adjustment took a while and change was painful. However, I knew if I wanted to successfully transition into the civilian world, I had to get comfortable with change. Because I knew the more I got comfortable with being uncomfortable and changing, I will come out the other end stronger. It's not that some people have willpower and some don't. It's that some people are ready to change and others are not. The number 9 clear sign that signals you're destined for greatness. You celebrate others. You recognize that life, a good life, is not lived alone. Thus, you learn to work and live well with other people. However, you take it one step further. When others succeed, and sometimes succeed better than you don't resent it. You don't dismiss it as luck. No, you genuinely celebrate them because you are that type of a person. I know, this one is a hard one because if we're all honest with ourselves, it is really hard to celebrate other success. We don't like to feel less than someone else. Jealousy is naturally built into who we are. This is why every 2-year-old's tantrum always starts with, "That is not fair." However, as Dreamboat Rob Lowe once said, nothing in life is unfair. It's just life. To the extent that I had any inner turmoil, I had only myself to blame. And that is exactly the shift people destined for greatness make. They stop viewing life as a competition where someone else's win equals their loss. They realize that resentment is nothing more than misplaced energy. Energy that could be used in a much more positive way, like celebrating success. So instead of saying, "That's not fair," you've learned to say, "Good for you. I'm so happy for you." And this, over the long run, will naturally lead you to greatness. The number 10 and final clear sign that signals you're destined for greatness. My personal favorite. You are generous. Genuinely generous. As mentioned earlier, we don't live life alone. And certainly, none of us got to where we're at today by ourselves. Our parents gave us life, our friends encouraged us, and our work colleagues mentored us. And you recognize this blessing. Thus, you work to pass on that blessing through generosity to every human being that you encounter throughout your life. One of the best modern examples of this kind of genuine generosity is Dolly Parton. Despite being a global icon, she's never been obsessed with spotlight or recognition. She's obsessed with helping people. Through her imagination library, she has donated over 200 million books to children around the world, ensuring kids, especially those from low-income families, grow up with access to stories, imagination, and hope. When wildfires devastated her home state of Tennessee, she personally gave $10,000 to every displaced family to help them rebuild. And in 2020, she quietly donated $1 million towards research to help develop the COVID-19 vaccine. She didn't seek credit, she didn't ask for anything in return, she just wanted to save lives. And if you too share this heart of generosity, you are destined for greatness, my friend. Thank you guys for watching the line of great signs. If you want to learn some signs that you're doing great with money, please check out my video here. Until next time, all the best.